Anybody rise for the pledge of allegiance? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll call meeting to order. Roll call.
Mayor Westergaard.
Yes.
Stankham.
Yes.
Mueller.
Yes.
Frank.
Yes.
Beckman.
Yes.
Waltman.
Yep.
Okay, before we start public forum, Teresa has an announcement.
What?
Yeah. I would like to introduce our new utility billing clerk, Tammy Rydell.
Hello, everyone.
She started today. I think we overwhelmed her a little bit, but I think she's going to be an excellent addition to our staff. So.
Thank you all.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, anybody here for public forum? Consent agenda, any additions or corrections?
So, I mean, on the building permit, so you have the one for Chris Wall. And after, I guess, some discussion with some public and zoning board members and what their intent is of non-conforming structures, in my discussion with Eric and I today, we are going to make a recommendation to the council that that building permit is denied as is. So, because it's not meeting any of the setback rules as an addition to a non-conforming structure.
Do we need to approve the consent agenda first?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Second?
I'll second it.
Beckman.
Yes.
Stankham.
Yes.
Mueller.
Yes.
Frank.
Yes.
Waltman.
Yep.
So how about the other two building permits?
I'll make a motion to consider A and C.
And I'll second.
Roll call.
Waltman.
Yes.
Mueller.
Yes.
Frank.
Yes.
Beckman.
No.
Stankham.
Yes.
Chris and Kevin, would you like to say anything about the building or?
Yes, I'm going to.
Yeah, look,
Please.
thank you for your time, first and foremost. This project began about 2 or 3 years ago, and I sat down, my wife and I kind of figured out what we would like to do to our cabin, or our house. And before we're going forward, I had to understand what the parameters were, what's allowed, what isn't allowed. We're not asking for a lot. We're not building a third structure, a third story. We're not building a big monstrosity that's going to block anyone else's view. I look down the street to my right, I look down the street to my left, and I've got structures that are 2 feet from the street. I've already got a structure that's been established since the construction of the house. It's non-conforming right now. What I'm asking is it's 15 feet long. I'm asking to add on the north and the back side a total of 15 additional feet to bring the wall back so I can square out the back of my house that's running down that street. It will not have any more impact on road, snow removal, any of those things happening in the back. But when I began this, I came to Scott Peterson. I said, okay, I have concerns. Can I go this far on my deck? Can I come this far close to the street? Because I know it's non-conforming. He said the wall is already established. The wall's established on the south side next to churches as well. Those are going to be acceptable as long as you don't go any further to the lake. So I went forward with that in mind. I don't know what construction, what rules are. So I asked those involved in the city who I could speak to, and he said as long as there's an existing structure there, you should be okay. At that point, I went forward and spent a significant amount of money hiring somebody to draw these plans to meet what was already pre-approved and accepted from the city administrator. So I'm a little frustrated. I understand there's rules and regulations, and I don't want people to get completely out of bounds when we're trying to construct our homes here in Lakeview. Our goal is to add some more beautification to the area around the lake, and do what we feel is acceptable because the wall is already established. We would like to spend 4 or 5 months a year up here, but in order to do that, certain things need to happen in our house, and specifically the impact that it's having on us is our kitchen, and that's the 200 square feet we're trying to add there along the street. I understand you have regulations. I understand things have changed in the last 6 months, and that's unfortunate for me. But I'd really like you to consider, I'm not asking for a large exception here. I'm just asking for a little bit of square footage so I can expand my kitchen and not have any more negative impact on the street, on road cleaning and whatever it takes place along that back alley, that street. Kevin, I'm gonna let you add whatever you'd like to.
Like Chris said, that a wall was established, and until recently, it's not been a problem. Continuing on from that wall, this, like Chris said, you look down the alley to the north, Canoli's house is probably 1.5 foot off the lot line. We're pushing 3 feet, I think, right now. So we're not any closer to that point as what a couple of those in the garage, the soffit, you remember the garage.
Church, Carolyn.
But same thing, that one is closer to the alley than what ours is. So again, we're just want to square out the corner of that side of the house, make some nice little buildable space for them, and hoping that you reconsider that. Let's go ahead with what we're trying to do.
So something that should be possible variance for the city.
I mean, that would be their option, and would be to apply to the Board of Adjustment for a variance.
But if the zoning board has already declined it, I mean, what would change from between now and then to come back and make a recommendation to you all here?
Have you taken this to the Board of Adjustments?
Have not yet, no.
That's the proper channel. It should go to the Board of Adjustments to get to apply for a variance, and they can approve it or disapprove it, and then it comes to the council for review at that time.
So what is Eric, I'm not, this isn't, I'm just trying to understand, what's Eric's responsibility? And then I appreciate your help, two Teresa's. Thank you for visiting with Eric on that, but, I mean, that's the only approach, only protocol.
Did Eric tell you that this would fly?
No, he said, sit down and talk with Teresa, so Kevin, Eric, and Teresa sat down and talked. I don't know what all took place, I wasn't part of that discussion.
When I left the office that day, they both made a song.
Eric and Teresa did?
At the time, the conversation was, apparently I misunderstood the intent of whatever the ordinance 526 on non-conforming structures. And at the bottom it says, any additions to non-conforming structures must meet the requirements of the existing zoning code. And so I had a visit from a planning and zoning board member at 4:30 on Friday, and I also had received another email this morning from another planning and zoning board member that basically said the intent of this ordinance, because I was thinking as long as you weren't on the non-conforming structure side, on the non-conforming structure, the existing wall, that if you were squaring off what you intended to do shouldn't be an issue, because it wasn't increasing in the non-conformity. The intent of the planning and zoning board, I misunderstood what their intent is, and their intent is no additions to non-conforming structures must meet the requirements of existing zoning code. So even though you meet the setbacks on the side, you don't meet the setbacks from the street, because that's the non-conforming wall, or where the deck is on the, where you want to put the sunroom on the deck side, because that's only 18 inches from the property line on that side. From the lake side, you're fine, but from the deck side, from the property line on the one side, you're not. So yes, at the beginning in our thought process between Eric and I, we misinterpreted what the planning and zoning and my understanding council's intent of this ordinance 526 that says, no additions to non-conforming structures must meet the requirements of the existing zoning code. So therefore, after the conversations that I had on Friday night at 4:30 and this morning, is that it doesn't meet it. So then Eric and I, in order to make sure that we're being fair to everybody, is recommending to council that then the building permit be denied as it stands.
And this isn't a new ordinance, this has been, I can't remember when the ordinance went into effect, but it was misinterpreted by Scott, and obviously Teresa read it differently than what the planning and zoning had interpreted it to me when they voted.
So how can I do this next time to where I don't go out and spend thousands of dollars hiring somebody to draw me plans based on what's been verbally approved?
I don't have an answer.
And-
I mean,
and I know
you
it's not your
went to
fault. You guys
Scott,
have
he should
regulations, I
have
understand.
known, but he interpreted it different than what the planning and zoning
So the
had
fact,
wrote it up
the
then.
fact that the structure's been there since 1918 has no bearing whatsoever.
Well, actually, in that original ordinance, if you'd have read and I'm not saying you have,
No, you're
don't take it the wrong way.
Right.
It says in there on non-conforming structures, they're trying to, not to eliminate them from life today, but they don't want them, once they're gone, then they have to meet the new ones. And it also says they're trying to phase them out over time to meet the new, whenever they put the setback rules in place. And, you know, if you think about setback rules are in place for a lot of reasons. One, if you're building on your property line on whatever, I'm gonna call it the north side, as you're looking at your house from the alley, the left-hand side, would that be north?
Yeah.
You know, is that the one that's right within 18 inches of the property line?
We're good there.
On the other side, it is the 18, one side,
Southeast
yeah.
sun.
You know, if you think about it, and I was at one of the meetings, and one of the P and Z guys said, you know, if you gotta get up and get on your roof or work on something or replace a window, and you're only 18 inches off, you've gotta get on your neighbor's property. If you and your neighbor don't get along, or there's an issue there, or if both houses are that close together, now you can't have any emergency service or nothing get through there. So that's, whenever they did them setback rules however long ago,
We have, but both corners that we want to square them in the house, both corners are good on the side setbacks.
just not on the street side.
Right.
Right, and then the other issue that you would have there is now do you have off-street parking for two vehicles?
We don't have.
You know, so this does take away one parking stall as well, correct?
If I have one, I mean, that's,
Golf cart.
yeah, there's not a lot of parking there regardless.
I mean, you gotta think about us sitting up here and trying to enforce the rules that are in place by the P and Z. And then P and Z put them rules in place for a reason, and we're just trying to enforce them.
But the unfortunate part is, like Chris said, and verbally agreed to some time ago with the past administrator, wouldn't spend some money, probably had things set the way they wanted, so.
We have no record of that, so, you know, unfortunately, and Scott's not here. We can't throw him under the bus just because he's not here. but-
No, and I mean, he was, I think he was honest with me, and it's what he thought. I think he nailed it on the head. But it's, I mean, I know there's rules, but I gotta believe there's gotta be exceptions to these rules sometimes too. I mean, it's not gonna have any more impact on the street. I mean, the damage is done. There's not gonna be any more impact by bringing the rest of my structure to that point.
And that's why we have the variance board.
Right.
To make exceptions to the rule, so to speak, if we could show hardship or whatever. But that's why we have that board, because other people have asked for exceptions before.
So what's the procedure and protocol in order to go down that road?
It's a form you have to fill out.
Okay.
So if you just come and fill out, it's basically a request for variance. So I have that available if you just want to come up and get it.
And another $100.
And then how long does that whole timetable take? Because obviously we're up against it here with weather and getting into the.
Right, and the bad part with the Board of Adjustment is I have to allow, I think it's between a 10 and 20 day public hearing notice. So, I mean, if we can get it done and I can get it out to publish it this week, then it would be within and I can get it scheduled within, 10 to 20 days, so, and then it's gotta come back to council.
What's the policy if I want to take that wall that's already established, it's already there on 3 feet from, and I want to go vertically up?
If you're going up the second story, then you're gonna be 6 feet off the property line.
No, I'm talking about the foot.
Oh,
We
taking
got
that wall up a
We got
foot.
7 foot ceiling in there, like they got the.
That'd take you, as long as you're overhanging that back. I mean, your wall's already established, I don't know about the,
It's my understanding on a non-conforming, you can go up, you just can't go both direction, either direction. That's my understanding.
Yeah.
But if you really want a clarification on before you go through all that, I would talk to somebody on the P and Z to see how they're reading it. That'd be my suggestion. But that's my understanding, and I got that from Scott, who also had the understanding that you can go however far either direction, and that's not what it was understood either, so. They're trying to get anything that's established in the future to meet the new, and when I say new, however many years ago them setbacks were put in place.
So then if we go to the other end of the building, so if we bring that deck in 3.5 feet to be conforming off that side of that house, do we need a new building permit? Or what do you want that?
I would say you'd have to have an amended
You
building
have to have an
permit.
amendment to the building permit if you were gonna bring that in off of that.
Southeast corner you're talking?
Yeah.
Eric, do you agree with that, the process they have to go through to do this?
To do with planning and zoning, yes.
With the Board of
Talk about
Adjustment.
the deck on the southeast corner.
The deck on the southeast corner.
As long as it's conforming, you know, to setbacks and that, I would, you just have to resubmit your deal and then come for you.
The southeast corner will act, and because that wall of the house towards the lake is within 18 inches of the property line.
But he's talking about
He's
bringing
talking
it
about
in.
Right, so if you
closer
would
to
to
the
bring
lake.
that in the 3.5 feet that you and I had talked about,
Yes.
so that it met the setback rules,
Yes.
yep.
Then just alter your paperwork and just resubmit it, and it should be passed.
I would think that's proper.
Is there such a thing?
No, because the building permit, the deck needs, that piece needs to be amended as well, is changed, so they can't prove that, they can't, with the exception of the street side, no.
Thanks, gentlemen.
All right, thanks for your time, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, we have the administrative report.
I don't have a whole lot, to do in this presentation. We did get the tax sale, the deed for the Broughton property, in the mail today, so that should basically be finalized. I did send an email off to Region 12, asking them about what might be some options for that property. They've got a program on rehabilitation, but I don't know that it's available. I think it might be beyond it, but I'm asking the question anyway.
I thought we had, Jim Smith, did that fall through?
No, but we can't just give it to Jim Smith.
So, I mean, so it's just looking at all of the different options to present to council on what might or could be done with that property. And then, I'm sure the chief will talk about, we've been talking about the cars. We do have what the insurance is and just kind of moving forward on it. We did put an offer into the sheriff's office, and they're possibly in negotiations. We kind of, we priced it kind of low just to see where we can maybe go with it and go from there. But the chief and I are still working on what other proposals we might be able to put together for that. The other thing is, with some considerations on Lakeshore Drive, probably gonna be calling a special meeting for Monday the 9th. It'll be next Monday from today. So, they're trying to put some things together, things that we found now that we got the road uncovered. So, and Jason might talk a little bit about that, so. That's about what I have.
Jason?
All right. We did a water tap on Hanson Street. We did our lift stations. We sewer jetted the entire town in the last 2 weeks. We do have 5 manholes that we have left to do. We will get at those last 5 next week. Lester is off Wednesday through Monday for personal reasons. So therefore it's myself, and I don't have enough people to go help me. So we'll get to it the next week. And then the entire town will be completely done, but it's just 5 left. We had every 3 years the DNR does an inspection at our wastewater treatment plant. They also do our water treatment plant. I don't know when that one is, but we did have our wastewater treatment plant inspection last Tuesday. went very well. He's got one suggestion that he's gonna make, and it's in the report, the same as what he wrote on the last report 3 years ago. He wants to know why there's no building over the influence sampler. So that is the only recommendation that I know he's gonna put on there, as far as I know. Sergeant Drilling was here. We had him test well number 1 in Speaker Park, because it was drawing sugar sand, and is drawing a lot of sugar sand now, to the point to where the well company thinks the well needs to be shut down and we need to drill a new well. He probably could have filled a 5-gallon bucket of sugar sand in the 15 minutes he ran it, which is very hard on our equipment everywhere else. But when we get more information on that, we'll deal with that. We had 7 lift stations backed out, to include the main one out at the wastewater treatment plant. We've hauled out approximately 15,000 gallons of water and grit and everything that's in the bottom of the lift stations. They filled up 5 times of water, which is approximately about 7,000 gallons, so about 8,000 gallons of what was in the lift stations themselves. Does that make sense? Worked on quotes for various projects. Brush pile pushed up again. We got our valve report from our valve exercising. We have about 15 valves that are either spinning or frozen in place. So that will be another project that we will work on, figuring out how we're going to replace those and get all of our valves in town to work so we can shut off lines if we should have to. Talk to the contractors about the Lake Street and Lakewood road fix repairs. They're going to either start Friday or Monday, so 10/6 or 10/9. The storm sewer drain on 6th and West, approximate start date is October 9th, is when they're going to start tearing that out and starting on that project. Lakeshore project today, they did hit a service line. It is repaired, it is fixed, back up and running, but they did take out about a 3-foot chunk of a service line. The way it was laid in the ground was it kind of made a U like this, and the curb stop was over here, and it came off the main over here and kind of made a U. I don't know if anybody wouldn't have hit it, to be honest, but it's fixed, it's back up. They were without water for probably about an hour. But they're good to go. We winterized the splash pad today, so that is all done and taken care of. And then discussed about where the new feature, which has arrived, where that goes at the splash pad and how that's going to get installed, and when we get time to get it installed, whether it's us or I've been told the contractor for the splash pad was supposed to do it. I was told we were supposed to do it. Don't know, but we'll figure that out and go from there. Dug in some graves, some service lines. We've had a couple dead animals on our power poles and power lines, so the boys have been removing those. Read some meters, switched them overhead to some underground trans connection. Fixed one of our transformers that was, we'll call it love tapped with a vehicle. Pushed it back onto the pad. This is why the guys don't put the primary and secondaries in there super tight. That way if they do move a little bit, we don't break stuff, and we can just push everything back. Cleaned up some equipment, reset the transformer again, that was bumped. Changed out a street light, worked on getting transformers for projects, and then worked on the digger some more. Our new high service pump for the water plant has finally arrived. They will be here Thursday to install that, so now we have 2 like we're supposed to, thank goodness, because it's scary running on 1, and that's the only thing you got. And still working on the punch list. Talked to the contractor today. He's getting with the roofing individual. He's our biggest holdup on when he's going to start the punch list roof project out at the wastewater treatment plant. I think that's about it. It was a busy week of sewer jetting. I think we only had a handful of complaints, But we've pulled out probably about 3 5-gallon buckets of tree roots and other objects. We'll phrase it as that. So,
Thank you, Jason. Chris?
Can I say something
Sure,
about
go
that?
ahead.
The splash pad, because I'm on the park board, the splash pad part, I would be concerned about the city staff putting that in, and then if there's something wrong with it, then they're gonna use that for an excuse, the company. Because I have concerns about that. I would think that the company should install that. And then, is the splash pad fixed? Because, you know, it's been leaking forever. And the guns leak all the time, but they are the favorite thing of the kids. And we wondered if we couldn't have the company come and check those out and see if there's something we could fix in there. That's just the view of the park board, I know, so.
So the guns run because the diaphragms in there, they build up with whether it's the sugar sand or rust on them, which allows water on the diaphragm to seep by. That's why they run. We can change out those diaphragms, but we're gonna change them out every single week, and it's $300 for each one of those diaphragms. And that's gonna cost us a massive amount of money to change those out every single time.
And the sand issue is not
Part of our
fixable?
well issue.
I mean, is that something that might be able to be fixed?
We can, well, if we get a new well, obviously, but our second well is not pulling sugar sand, but we still have the rust buildup. We have started to backwash our iron filters, which is now capable. We were not capable of doing that previously. So hopefully, ideally, the iron buildup goes down, but I can't sit here and tell you it's gonna make it so it doesn't happen again.
I think we're gonna take the winter months and see what our our options were, is either trying to put a filter in down there or something to see if we can make it so that it's not running all the time, so that it actually shuts off. So.
Put an inline filter on the pipe that comes in, which will help with some of the iron. If there should happen to be sand, it should catch some of that, but until we do it, I'm throwing darts at the wall and telling you it's gonna fix it.
Yeah. Do you think the company would be any assistance to you as far as?
Well, that might be an option to have a conversation, and that's why we were trying to take like the winter months and see what we can come up with options.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, so we had 96 community policing contacts for the past month, 395 calls for service, 87 cases. Just kind of want to point out there were 46 charges filed over the past month, 14 arrests, and you see kind of everything else right there. I did go look at that Tahoe at the sheriff's office. I'll try and get figures to see what's going to take to upfit it, what we need to get in there, because there's nothing in it right now. But we will have options here for a new police vehicle. And we should be under budget. I think everything I figured out will be under budget or on budget total. So I think we're sitting pretty good as far as that's concerned.
I guess I got a little question for you. Is there a possibility, and you'll have to run some numbers on that, but if you would lease, when do you think the new equipment would be showing up? I know they're on strike or whatever, I'm not.
Yeah, so if we get a used vehicle, we'll get that fairly quick. So we can have it out on the road pretty quick. The Durango, they told me it'd be late winter, early spring, and that was prior to the strike, so who knows when that could be.
So we're I mean, I guess in the conversation we're looking at a couple of different options. We could still potentially cancel the Durango if we were to buy a couple of these used vehicles, potentially from Missouri State Patrol. So we're trying to look at all of our options to see what would be the best and hold out the most for the longevity, to get us to the next cycle of vehicle that we would have to buy. So
the used vehicle, I'd like to see get us 4 years. How will we do that?
Thanks, Chris. It looks like you're busy.
Yeah, they were real busy this last month. It's been crazy.
Thank you. Okay, resolution 2348 is granting multiple curb stops, 521 Hanson.
So I had Dave, Janet write this up for us. We had a request, on multiple curb stops where Jennifer is putting in her apartments there on Hanson Street. And I guess, you know, one of the questions was multiple curb stops and where was the responsibility gonna lie with the city? So this is really a resolution, where she's requested the multiple curb stops and where, that she is the owner on behalf of her successors and interests of the real estate, be responsible for maintenance and repair of the service line from the city, such that if any issue arises with the service line past the city curb stop, which is, when I say the city curb stop, it's where we installed the curb stop right next to the main. What did you say, like within 10 feet?
It's like 4 feet away from our main.
Right.
That's our curb stop.
So anything beyond that curb stop that's right at the main would be her responsibility, but also still allows us access because she's putting in multiple curb stops for individual tenants. They would also still allow us access if they were to need to be shut off for non-payment. So basically, this kind of covers us on the responsibility of the service line, but then it allows us access to be able to shut off an individual tenant if we need to for non-payment.
You say multiple curb stops, how many went in back there?
4.
Is that zoned properly for a 4-unit apartment?
That area is zoned commercial, so anything that would fall underneath commercial would be within the zoning requirements of commercial, and I think multi-res falls in there.
I think it's actually industrial, but yeah, I think.
But yes, it's industrial,
I think
that's
you're right.
correct, yes. But, yeah,
I didn't know if it was residential.
no, it's industrial, and anything that falls, residential can fall into an industrial area.
I make a motion that we allow resolution 2448 granting multiple curb stops at Hanson Street.
Second,
I'll second.
roll call.
Beckman?
Yes.
Ray?
Yes.
Muller? Yes. Stankham?
Yes.
Okay, everybody got a handout from Jason on the drainage there. You wanna give us a scoop on it?
I don't know if you want to push that off since she is not here. I don't know if she thought maybe council was still at 7 and not 5:30. But she was planning on coming.
Well, then we'll just wait.
So I don't know if we want to push that to the end of the council meeting. Hopefully she shows up. And then we can discuss that with her present.
All right. Okay, we have Bob Beach is here. We have a couple questions the council did. Thanks for coming, Bob.
Sorry, I didn't realize the meeting was 5:30. I think Teresa called our office about 3:45. I figured out here as fast as I could, so. I think the first thing you have on your agenda is the Highway 175 water main project. And where we are right now is there's one driveway left for jet drain, put some rock on it, agreed to do that. We have some supplemental seeding that needs to be done, but it's so dry this fall, I think anything they see now is likely, if it germinates, it's not been established before winter. So what the proposal is that we would enter into the city would enter into a supplemental contract that would cover the work that's remaining to be completed, some of which driveway can be done this fall, the seeding is probably a spring work. This supplemental contract is approved by the contractor, the bonding company, so it's covered by the surety. So if for some reason they don't do it, we have the recourse against the surety. And so the proposal is that we enter into a supplemental contract in the amount of $5,000. And then the city would close out the main contract. And then we would administer this little, what I call it, baby contract. So that we would hold that money after they get that work done, or it's, we probably wouldn't do anything until they get the seeding done next spring. Then we go through, pay them, and accept that contract. So it's essentially like carving out of the main contract a piece of work that they can't do. Code of Iowa allows that they can't do it at this time. They've got 95% of it done, and they can't finish everything for 60 days, then they're allowed to request a supplemental contract. So that seemed like a reasonable approach to sort of bring this project to a close, and also then provide payment for the contractor for work they've completed, they've not been paid for, also then to reconcile the retainage. So if the council's agreeable with that approach, there's really 4 actions that are needed tonight. One is to approve the supplemental contract. And I don't believe, Teresa, unless Patty sent it to you after I left, that we've actually seen the one with the surety's consent.
I didn't get it printed off, but she did send it late this afternoon. I just saw the email just quickly, but yeah, it was just.
The reason I raised that, if we hadn't seen the surety's consent, then I would request the council to approve it subject to the surety's consent. But if you have the surety's consent, then.
According to what Patty said this afternoon, yes.
Well, I told her if she got anything, to let you know right away.
Bob, before we go any further, I'd like to go one at a time. After you've explained it, we'll just have a motion in a second.
Well, what I was gonna try to do was explain everything, so you can see it as a package. Because it's kind of a package, and then go through each item individually as far as action. So, with the supplemental contract, then the next step would be partial payment estimate 4 final. And that pays of everything but the retainage of 5%, and it also holds back the $5,000. So that estimate is in the amount of $44,298.35. The third thing is then, after you approve the estimate, then the next thing to do would be to accept the project. And I notice on the agenda, Teresa, you have acceptance of the certificate of completion. There should really also be a resolution of acceptance.
Okay.
With that, so it's a pretty standard form, so we can provide you that form.
Okay.
But if the council wants to move to approve a resolution of acceptance and authorize the mayor to sign the certificate of completion, I think that sort of would clean up procedurally what needs to be done.
Okay.
And then the last thing would be payment of the retainage. That once you do that, 31 days after the action tonight, you'll pay the contractor the retainage, which is $35,921.85. So as I indicated in my letter, you've got 2 options. You can approve that estimate tonight with payment to be made 31 days later, which will be on or about the 10th of November. Or you could defer this to your next council meeting and approve it at that time, and it still would be deferred to payment on the 10th of November. If you wait till your first meeting in November, you could also wait till your first meeting in November if you wanted to. But if you want to take care of everything tonight, you can do all 4 of these, then you don't have to revisit the project at the next council meeting or a subsequent council meeting. So it sort of sets the action. So I thought maybe, Your Honor, if there's any questions about the overall approach, because they're all kind of interrelated. So if there's any questions about any of them, I'm going to try to answer those, and if everybody's satisfied with the approach, then we can walk our way through the individual items.
I think there's some councilmen have a question on the route. We don't want to do this.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah, we're
second
gonna do that.
part.
Yeah, we're gonna do that.
We'll deal with that
Yeah,
next.
separately.
Have you had time to review everything you need, Teresa? And what's your recommendation?
I mean, my recommendation is that we move forward with the supplemental contracts, you know, as Bob has laid it out here, consider partial payment, and just kind of get this project to completion, and then, you know, move forward with what we need to do in the spring.
Yeah, and we presented several options, and I think the contractor and I think Teresa and I are all in agreement. This is the kind of the cleanest, most efficient way of doing it. Otherwise, we end up with little fragments sitting out there that we have to deal with over the winter, so.
Okay, we need a motion on consideration of the supplemental contract first.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Second.
Roll call.
Steinkamp?
Yes.
Beckman?
Yes.
Muller?
Yes.
Frank?
Yes.
Okay, the next one is partial payment number 4, the final one. Motion.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Roll call.
Frank?
Yes.
Muller?
Yes.
Steinkamp?
Yes.
Beckman?
Yes.
And this one here is going to be a resolution of acceptance.
resolution of acceptance and authorize the mayor to sign the certificate of completion.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Roll call.
Muller,
Yes.
Stankham,
Yes.
Beckman,
Yes.
Frank.
Yes.
Last one's consideration of pay estimate 5. Motion
Rudy
approved.
needs the certificate of completion.
And the motion would be to approve and authorize payment 31 days after approval.
Yep.
Make that motion.
Second.
I'll second it.
Roll call.
Frank,
Yes.
Stankham,
Yes.
Beckman,
Yes.
Muller,
Yes.
Okay, the Northwest Water Route Project. That one has some questions.
Yeah, I know there's concerns about that, and let me start by saying, I want to explain a little bit about some of the background, but to begin with, we'll offer, if the council's willing to split the cost, we'll pay half the cost, if the council will pay half the cost. I want to give a little bit of why we proposed that. This was not included in the original scope of the project. The original scope, when we went out and did not have the piece along Highway 175. After we had that design, we were asked to add this to the project, and I indicated, well, that would normally have an additional cost because you almost double the scope of the project. And at that point, the response back was, well, we really don't want to go back and add any engineering to it, can we just kind of add it to the project as best you can? And if you go back and look, the scope that we built was about 1,300 feet compared to about 700 feet in the original scope. So, you know, we didn't have any engineering design on it. We tried to go with what we understood was explained to us. We misunderstood what they intended. With respect to the hydrants, we sent the spec to the staff and said, do you have any concerns about the hydrants? We listed 3. We sent the shop drawings that listed the manufacturer. In fact, there's different ones on both projects. And we can't find anywhere in our record where we were ever given any guidance of what the hydrant manufacturer was. We're not saying you have a policy, but if we don't know about it, it's kind of hard to do.
I guess my question on that, if you would have done your due diligence, knowing that we got all one certain kind of hydrants within our community, that you wouldn't go with that hydrant instead of bringing in.
We asked, do you have any special requirements? I didn't drive around and look at every hydrant. So I understand the concern, and I'm not arguing that. And then the other part of it is that when we were in construction, we weren't notified of the concern. Staff at that time went directly to the contractor and said, change these hydrants or move the hydrant. I mean, there's a procedure normally to go through to try to work your way through, and those in this particular case were completely sidestepped. So I think there's some fault on both sides, I guess, you know, some lack of communication. And so my position, my offer is that I'd split the cost. It's still less than what you would have paid had you actually paid for the engineering on it.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
When you guys engineer water mains along rural roads or state highways whatsoever, do you always put the hydrants in the middle of the ditch?
Again, had we engineered it and had?
No,
Normally, no.
but your previous project, the one that we just gave you permission to pay, 175 water main project, them were all in the middle of the ditch as well to start with, until we spoke up and said, they can't be in the middle of the ditch. I'm just asking that question if you guys always do that.
In that particular case, we probably could have put them back on, no argument. So we're not saying we don't have any responsibility, we're simply saying there was a lot of things that went on this project.
I'll make the motion that we accept that half and split the cost and move forward.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Beckman,
Yes.
Muller,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
Stankham.
Yes.
And just looking ahead now, with this, what we'll do is that at the next council meeting, we'll have some of the same type of paperwork that we had for the 175 as we begin to start to move that project toward closure. Except we will not have a supplemental contract. So in that particular case, we'll have essentially the estimate, we'll have the resolution of acceptance, and then the retainage. So that may drag a little bit, it may not be at the next meeting, we got a couple of things to work out with the contractor. But with this, I think this resolves the last piece to start moving forward. So whether it's your meeting 2 weeks from now or your first meeting in November, I would expect that we'll bring back kind of a similar set of paperwork to what we had for the 175 project.
Thanks, Bob.
Any
Appreciate
other
it.
questions? If not,
Thank you.
surrounded.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate you getting here.
Thanks for riding all the way up.
For those of you on the council, just a little bit why sometimes I get a little particular about procedure. I'm both an engineer and attorney, so sometimes I get a little I'm not the city attorney, but sometimes having been at this for 47 years with my background, I try to make sure everybody tries to get their I's dotted and their T's crossed. So I don't mean to be try not to be pushy or out of place.
It's appreciated.
But sometimes I see things that need to be cleaned up a little bit and help out. We don't have to go back and clean up the mess later on, so.
I'm glad to put this behind us.
Yes, thank you. And on to something, whatever the next one is. Thanks.
Thanks, Bob.
Well, the way it sounds.
We'll talk about that later.
That won't be cheap.
Okay, Liberty Insurance wants to discuss options with our employees.
Yeah, so we had a visit from a representative from Liberty Insurance wanting to discuss policy options to employees we provide. So basically what we're asking the council is if we allow them to come in and talk to them and they want to purchase this, would you guys allow a payroll deduction? I mean, really there's no cost, similar to Aflac, there's no cost to the city kind of thing. It's just basically allowing a payroll deduction for it to happen if they were to come in and talk, and if anybody were to purchase it. So.
When are they gonna come in and talk? During the day or?
It would probably
after
be during the day. We'd probably arrange something about, having them, but I don't think the discussion is gonna be violently long. If not, then, I'll have a discussion with them because I don't want it to take up, a lot of time of their day.
Do we have Aflac now?
Yes, we do. This is similar, but it's a little bit different than what Aflac happens to offer because it's a life and it's, I think, additional like accident types of, policies versus what Aflac offers on the cancer side and those kinds of things.
Yeah, and Aflac holds our cafeteria plan. So when they come in, everybody has to sign their paperwork so that the health insurance can come out pre-taxed. Now, this Liberty Insurance would be, just a separate, they just want to make a pitch to see if any of the employees would be interested in.
Do we have employees interested in this?
We haven't approached it.
We wanted to see if the council was okay first, if they came in before we.
Yeah, before we talked about it, so.
But Aflac comes every day during the day, it don't take them very long.
Well, like I said, Aflac holds our cafeteria plan for our health insurance,
Yeah,
so the employees have to sign off with, they don't have to take Aflac, but they have to sign the paperwork with Aflac if they want the health insurance premiums to come out pre-tax. So there's a little difference between, that, but they offer similar plans, I guess. It's just, we told them we would check with the council to see what, if it was all right with you guys. If not,
You don't have a problem, Teresa. They
I
want
don't
that.
care either way, really.
Well, I think it's something we offer to our employees that they.
Right.
The only thing I don't wanna see is 10 different insurance companies come in here and wanna pitch for employees all the time.
Right, exactly, and I fully am on board with that as well. It's not something that, in most of them aren't that way. I mean, usually it's done something through your benefit stream. This is just something that's outside of that.
I'll make that motion.
Second,
I'll second it.
roll call.
Beckman,
Yes.
Stankamp,
Yes.
Muller,
Yes.
Craig.
Yes.
Okay, we wanna get some transformers ordered.
Okay, let's
So
do
let's do
11.
11 first.
And you guys, I know, did several agreements, and for whatever reason, I keep getting an email saying that this is something that hasn't been signed, and I haven't been able to find anything that it's been signed. So basically, this is just,
I remember talking about this.
right, there's one document, but that document doesn't match this document. So this is one that me and WAPA have sent me that says you guys need to sign this so that we can keep moving forward with how our energy works. So,
I'll make that motion.
Roll call.
Tammy, did you second?
Yes.
Yes.
Frank?
Yes.
Muller?
Yes.
Stankham?
Yes.
Beckman?
Yes.
Business dryer transformers.
Okay, so, these two transformers that are on the quote from Irby, Trent had looked them up, and one's a 300 and one's a 500 KVA. I'm not exactly sure what that means, Trent's not here to explain, but, anyway, we don't have any of these on hand. And one of them, the 500 one in particular, is in need for the new processing plant that's supposed to be coming to town. We are trying to source it, and so far we haven't found one yet that we could get sooner, but right now these two transformers are 52 to 55 weeks out. So, our biggest thing is if we are allowed to order it, we don't have to pay for it until they come in, so you're looking at a year from now. And we can certainly get this into next year's budget, but I think we need to at least get a couple of these on order. The smaller ones are not as the, lead time, they're much easier to get, but these two are just absolutely impossible. With the idea on size and different things of what we may need.
These are,
47.
these are, you're looking at, they're good for Evapco, is that kind of for our bigger customers, is that what you're?
Yes.
The 500, if a Evapco does another expansion, we'd probably have to order another 500. The 500 that is on the quote is for the Yetter locker, based off of what he has told us his power needs are gonna be.
Yeah.
We do have other 300s in the city that we do not have replacements for. If they go down, we're up a creek.
That's exactly right, because the 52 to 54 weeks, that even might be short. My brother's been trying to order some too, and he's been trying to look at other companies that have it.
And they aren't willing to give them up if they
No,
have one. They aren't really willing to share.
I make a motion to get them on order if we gotta have
Well,
them.
Trent also mentioned on that 500, if we set it at the Yetter locker, if for some reason there'd be another expansion of another business there, it probably would be adequate for.
Correct.
Yeah, we gotta have it.
If we get another business in that area, we'd still have enough power to provide.
Right.
So it's planning ahead for the future, which is what we try to do, because hopefully we're going to continue to expand.
I'll second it.
Roll call.
Beckman?
Yes.
Stankham?
Yes.
Muller?
Yes.
Frank?
Yes.
Okay, we got high service pump agreement, electric pump.
Okay, so what this agreement is for them to come in quarterly and descale our high service pumps. Back in the past, what they used to do is take muriatic acid, dump it on them, and let the scale come off. That is not approved by the DNR. We cannot do that.
Imagine it.
So therefore, until I get the guys trained, and we get trained, and everybody's comfortable with what we're doing, this is one of those things that we're gonna spend massive amount of money when it clogs up on us at 12 o'clock at night like it did the last time, and have that emergency call. This will prevent that because they're gonna come in, they're gonna clean it. This is a 1-year contract. Hopefully within that year, I can have the guys trained and we can do that ourselves. With being new, myself, getting a new guy, trying to get everything done, we just don't have time to do this at this particular point.
So this
After-
isn't something that's gonna be ongoing, this is a 1-year trial thing.
We will try it for 1 year. If we feel that after a year, this is something that we can handle in-house, we will push to handle it in-house and we will not renew it. If it's something that we feel we need to continue, we will come forward and tell you that we need to continue it and give our explanations on that. But currently, at this point in time, we do not have the ability or the staff to do this without creating undue hardship for everything.
So this is gonna be a $7,600 contract.
Yes.
And then right now, it's just for 1 year.
Right.
I don't know what the bill was for our emergency call that we had with them, but I'm assuming it was probably, almost probably half that, when they have to come on a Sunday night at midnight from Omaha.
I just don't wanna get, and I know we got new, and I know we're short-staffed, and I see the next thing on the agenda is hire somebody to come in and relocate a fire hydrant.
We'll talk about that next, and I'll explain that.
I get that, but you know, I'm looking at the stuff on the agenda, we're hiring everybody to come in and do all the work for our stuff. Is that because we need to, I just need some explanation. Do we need the education before we can do that? Or is this something that because we're short-staffed?
I would tell you it's education and staff.
Because, I mean, it's something that Lester has never done.
Right.
If we just dump uriatic acid on it, and that's how we operated in the past, you know that even past staff, that was the solution. So, I think.
Let me rephrase my comment. I'm fine with this. I just don't want our city staff to get in the habit of hiring people to come in and do everything all the time.
I absolutely don't. I don't disagree
See what
with
I'm
you.
getting at?
Absolutely, and I'll even get this. We've been paying like Quality Pump and Control to come and pull a pump, take 4 bolts out, and take a pair of underwear out of it. Lester and I have both talked. Why are we paying the amount of money that we're paying when we can buy a hoist that will fit in the bumper of a truck, and we can do it ourselves, and we're not paying $1,000 for the Quality Pump to come do it.
I remember you talking to me about that.
We are attempting to do all this stuff, but we got to get the education, the
Well-
training, and the experience behind us before I can move forward.
Well, I can tell you just on the sewer jetting experience, because I was out with the guys on Friday afternoon, that there were manholes in this town, even on Friday afternoon, that have not been pulled in a really long time in sewer jetting. So, at the end of the day, we're trying to put programs together that we're going to be able to do some of this stuff in-house and make sure that it gets done on a timely basis, but, it's gonna take us time to get there.
Totally fine with that,
Yeah.
as long as we have an end game in sight, that we're not just continually hiring somebody to come in and do all our work.
Lester and I's goal, we've talked about this, is to do it ourselves.
Yeah.
In-house, we can do it when we want to, and we don't have to wait for somebody else. That's our goal. Do I think we can accomplish that goal in a year? I hope so.
Right, I mean, and the other side of that is having confidence that we do it and we do it right.
Correct.
Or we make a mistake and then the liability is on us and we're still calling somebody to fix it.
So this is basically, we're gonna pay them to come in and train us.
They're going to train
How's
us,
that for-
and we're going to watch them, and we're going to learn how to do it, and we'll have to buy some equipment to do it. It's not very expensive equipment. I mean, in the scheme of things, as far as a high service pump goes, the equipment that we're going to need is fairly inexpensive. So, but can I sit here and tell you 100% in a year we're going to be confident enough? I can't tell you 100%, but I believe we will be.
I believe in our staff that we've got who will be. I'll make the motion that we do it.
Second.
Roll call.
Beckman?
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
Waller?
Yes.
Stankham?
Yes.
Okay, fire hydrant relocation.
Okay, so this is the one out there on Provo Street. They had it dug up last year, and Klauser, the gentleman, he does this for a living, he walked away from the job because he didn't feel comfortable with what needed to be done. He was not confident enough to do it. This is a gentleman that's been doing it for over 20 years. If he's not confident, I can guarantee you I'm not confident. However, Corey was shown, SCE, he is confident that he can take a 22 and roll the 22 because the pipe comes off the main and goes at like a 33-degree angle is what I'm told. I have not seen the hole open. I'm going off of what everybody's told me. Corey believes he can cut it back far enough, put a 22, roll it to where we can make it come out level, insert a valve, and then it will also move that hydrant away from the middle of their garage. If Mr. Klauser has been doing this for 20 plus years, is not confident enough to do it, I can guarantee you I am not. And if I was confident in doing it, I would tell you I'd do it. But my inexperience on that aspect, I have to go with somebody that has more experience than I do.
I do remember them talking about there's 2 angled pieces in there, if I remember right.
So I know Corey reached out to Klauser and got all the information from Klauser, and Corey's still very confident in his individual. His name's Chunk. Chunk being able to do it and doing it correctly.
And they wouldn't have to tear out,
He does not believe we're gonna have to tear
Tear out
out
the road.
3/4 of the road either.
right?
There will be road tore out though?
There might be a little bit.
Is that included in this or no?
From my understanding, this is whole kit and caboodle out the door. He's gonna come fix it, move it, and then we have the working fire hydrant, which apparently has not been working for numerous years.
We need that done.
So,
So I have a question for you. So help me learn this. So you got your water main,
correct?
and then we got a pipe coming off that water main apparently at an angle?
It comes out at an upward angle, and typically they come out slightly at an angle, but not at like a 33, 40 degree angle. Typically it's like a 5, 10 degree.
Okay.
But this one, the way it was put in however many years ago, that's the way they did it.
And we still gotta come off of that same spot, but this guy's gonna move it
By putting the 22, he should be able to roll it to where he can make a flat piece
and then go up.
and then go up.
Okay.
So from my understanding from what Corey said, he should be able to put a 22, roll it, put a piece of pipe, insert our valve, because we want a valve on the hydrant.
Right.
And then another piece of pipe, and then we'll insert that hydrant right there. We are providing the hydrant, we are gonna do the excavating. We are gonna obviously be there to oversee everything, but that rolling of the 22 and everything with the way that pipe comes off that main.
What's the nearest fire hydrant besides that one?
Up on the other side of the Mexican restaurant towards, I wanna say it's a boat ramp,
Is
but I
it
don't
Wayne
think.
Plucon out by his house? Yep.
Yeah.
This is Wayne Pluck.
This is.
This is.
Yeah,
Plucon.
this is his, okay.
It's up the road past the Mexican restaurant on the left-hand side of the road.
It's
Where that
almost, Jesse
turn in.
Beckman's, I think, in that area.
So
Maybe not quite that far.
I feel the hydrant is needed to be in that location. And if we're gonna have one, it needs to work, obviously.
Definitely.
Say, yeah. Is there a motion to approve that?
I'll make it.
Second?
Second.
Roll call.
Stankham,
Yes.
Muller,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
Beckman.
Yes.
Did he say a time frame for this?
He is gonna attempt to do this at the same time that he fixes our Lake Street manhole and the stuff out at the wastewater plant. So hopefully it is before the snow flies. That is his goal. We also know how contractors and everything goes, so I'd be lying to you if I said I could give you an exact date. But that's what the goal of the whole thing is before snow flies.
Okay. You found somebody to fix the roof on the log cabin?
I'm working on it. I was hoping to have more information, but I didn't hear anything today. So it's come to my attention that the roof on the log cabin is leaking. But there's a hole on the southeast corner approximately about a 3 by 3 foot in size. I've tried to contact several people who would maybe look at it and provide us a quote. I did find Ryan Schroeder. He's supposed to be coming up and taking a look at it when he gets a chance. Because I kind of told him we'd like to have it repaired before winter if we could. Because it's a cedar shake roof, which is, not a lot of people want to work on those. I mean, I guess the ultimate thing, I guess we could try and put something on the inside or something so that it doesn't look too bad to try and cover it for winter, but, and then the porch repair, when I was there, it looks like, some work could be done, but not as immediate as the need for the roof. So I don't have any price point to even show you, to give you guys on it. I just put it on as a discussion because it's been brought to my attention a couple of different times now. So I wanted to make sure that you guys were aware that that's something that I'm trying to find out information for. So.
Well, hopefully Ryan can help us.
Yep.
Nobody else wants to do it. We've been trying for years to find somebody to do this. Nobody else does it.
Well, it takes somebody, it's not just like putting a shingle on, that's normal shingle, it's.
You gotta put something in the air.
Right, and I went up and I walked around it the other day and I was like, okay, certainly there's some work that can be done. I don't know what's on the inside of it, I didn't look in a window, but, yeah, it definitely looks, certainly it's aged, but, you know,
Good luck.
well, thank you.
We haven't had any luck for the last 4 years doing it.
I'm trying, we'll see what we can come up with, so.
Okay, before we go into closed session, would you guys, gentlemen, tell us what you plan to do with the laundromat and what you're asking?
No, first off, I'm Mike Anderson, live on the acreage by Frida.
Yeah, Andrew Phillips, Marcia and Norm Phillips are my parents, they own the winery. I just live north of town here. So why we bought the laundromat is that I was born and raised here, and I just feel like this community has, I mean, I remember when I was little, this community has just absolutely blown up. And from my perspective, the lake, the people, the community, and I guess this is kind of maybe a little bit of a, I wanted to give back, or I wanted to do something to bring more people to see what we have here. And so I've thought about this for quite a few years. I just never had really found the right, I was always looking on the lake for a place to put like a oven, fire grill oven pizza bar is basically what I'm looking to do. And it just never really worked out to be on the lake. When the laundromat came up for sale, I kind of joked with my wife, like, you know, that wouldn't be a bad place. It's kind of by Main Street. It's the Stone Pier concert has really fired up. It's not far from the lake, bike trail. And so we were just kind of like joking about it a little bit, and we thought, you know what? Maybe we should take a look at it. Me personally, I own a business already, lots of businesses, and I knew I couldn't do it on my own. Mike Anderson also owns businesses, and so I just thought he would be a really good partner, somebody to kind of bounce ideas off of and keep us level-headed all the way through the process. We're looking at not just redoing the building that's there, we're looking at a substantial, brand new, state-of-the-art building with 3 stories and a rooftop, so that hopefully we can get high enough to see the lake in the fall. I'm assuming the trees will block it somewhat in the summer, but just kind of bring a different experience to Lakeview. I guess something maybe similar to like what you see up at Okoboji when you go up there, Captain's, Portside, they have rooftops where you can see the lake. Just something that's different, unique. Thirsty Carp is now gone. I'm not saying Lakeview has gotten quieter, but I feel like it has maybe. And I just wanted to, I thought this was the right time to maybe look at something like this. You guys have anything to add?
Yeah, we want it to be more of an experience. We both have 7 kids between the 2 of us. You know, we want it to be family friendly. You can come. We want to do some sort of an outdoor patio with AstroTurf and maybe the Bags games and a few things like that. Live music, just somewhere cool you can go and relax and just kind of have a good time. So.
Yeah, I think that was probably the big thing, is that we wanted to make sure that it was kid friendly, but then we also wanted to bring this live music element in, like every weekend outside of the Stone Pier concerts. You know, something where it drew people.
Something to do, keep them here.
Yep.
You know, maybe before they think, hey, let's take off and go to Okoboji for the weekend. You know, maybe people would stop and think, oh, let's just stay in Lakeview.
Yeah, and I think for me too, it's always really nice to have an outside, you know, area, especially in Lakeview. There's tons of people outside walking around, biking, and the bike trail's right there. And it'd be nice to have a patio for people that couldn't make the trip to the roof. And also an area where kids can play and you know, you can do games and that kind of stuff. So I guess that's why we're here, is for that little triangle piece, to be able to utilize that to benefit the scheme, I guess, of the building.
We're gonna go to closed session and figure out a price, and then we'll come out of closed session, hopefully move forward.
Okay.
And hopefully we'll come with a price that attracts you to Lakeview.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds good, guys.
And I will tell you, we're not who I had pictured when I'd seen the signs.
Is that good or bad?
60 pounds less.
Yeah.
More than that.
Medium. Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Motion to go in closed session.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Second.
Roll call. Okay, it's gone.
Yep, and you will need to leave unfortunately, but thank you.
You're gonna make a motion when you come back? Hopefully, if we can come a price so that they can continue on the construction. Hopefully so, yeah.
They just did, but we got
What property are we talking about? Right east of the laundromat, there's a little tiny piece of ground the city has owned for years. Not very much. No.
No.
It's not very wide, not very long. They need that to progress with their building.
And that's the last thing in the agenda, right?
Yep, that's it.
Going home.
Thanks, yeah.